Back in 2010, FIFA was running the bid to decide which nation is going to host the 2018 and 2022 World Cup. And for the first time, the most expensive World Cup was going to held in an Arab country. Qatar won the bid for this, and what's really interesting is the amount of cost to host this World Cup. And that number was not $3 billion or 10 billion. That number is, ladies and gentlemen, is $220 billion. Just for the reference, the 2010 World Cup costed South Africa only $3 billion. Qatar is paying way more money to host the greatest sporting event in the world. When the dust was settled, we got to know that this 2022 World Cup was not a fair winning bid, but rather 4 of the executive members of the FIFA board took the bribery between $1 to $5 million just to make sure that the Qatar won the bid for hosting the World Cup. And in today's video, we are going to uncover why FIFA is a corrupt and how they are making money out of this. Before we start our video, make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit that bell icon so that you don't miss any of our videos. Let's get started. Early in the 20th century, as national teams began competing against one another, football popularity skyrocketed around the globe, particularly in Europe and South America. And when you understand that something gets popular, everyone wants a pie of it. And to have a power to control that particular industry, people will do anything. So group of people, those who had a keen interest in the football, get together in France to form a FIFA in 1904. Basically, this organization was responsible to organize matches and maintain the standards of the football all over the world. But after the Great Depression in 1930, there was an economic downturn. The aftermath of the World War I made the people basically unemployed. This is where the FIFA saw the opportunity and they decided they will launch their own competition, just like the Olympics. And that's how the FIFA World Cup was born. The primary concern was who would host this event. 6 of the 44 FIFA member nations at the time submitted bids to host it. The FIFA Congress, comprised of 1 delegate member from each of these nations, was tasked with determining the winner. However, this vote was a deception. It was basically determined by the group of guys behind the closed doors. And in the end, FIFA granted Uruguay the privilege to host the first World Cup. And why they chose it? For the public disclosure, they mentioned Uruguay had recently won the previous 2 football gold medals at the Olympic. But the actual reason was it also committed to pay for a number of charges, including the travel costs of the other teams, and a portion of the earnings to FIFA was actually more important for FIFA than anything else. And in July 1930, 13 teams competed against each other and Uruguay won the championship against Argentina. And the majority of the FIFA revenue came from the ticket sales from this competition. The World Cup was profitable, and that's how FIFA understood that this business model is going to be one of the most profitable business for the members of the FIFA. FIFA opted to rotate the event between Europe and South America for the following 2 decades. The World Cup was hardly a monumental event back then. There have been some modifications to the stadiums and existing infrastructures, and there may be some marketing, but the World Cup, however, was not really a worldwide event. But that part was changed instantly when television was introduced in the world, and the broadcasting changed the business for the FIFA forever. TV was the innovation which brought people together and experience the things in their comfort, as they don't have to leave their homes just to watch these football games. TV made the FIFA and football to get more exposure to millions of the people around the world. And once the whole globe was able to see the event, the host country became more recognizable, and thus many other nations wanted to host it. Football is now so popular in particularly every nation that no government can afford to ignore it. Why? Because hosting a worldwide event will give more exposure, will increase the infrastructure, increase the revenue from the tourism. This is all beneficial for FIFA and to the hosting nation. During the 1960s and 1970s, FIFA membership began to explode, and in the 1980s, FIFA had around 170 members, most of whom were grouped into the 6 confederations with their own qualification events, and the group continued to grow in wealth. Considering how FIFA income increased gradually with almost every tournament up until until the 1980s. It was then that the World Cup sponsorship, merchandising, and the television rights were worth millions of dollars. And let's just not forget that the big brands like Adidas and Nike were also exploding in the consumer market. This money was mostly controlled by the 24 officials, and this body was known as the EXCO, or the Executive Committee of FIFA. They had the authority to give the FIFA funds to the member nations for the constructions of the football grounds, organization of the competitions, and the establishment of the youth programs. This was not a problem until the funds were starting getting stolen. In the various places of the globe, money kickback for the development projects have become a commonplace. FIFA leaders started to engage in unethical methods in order to obtain and maintain their power. The corruption that occurred suited both the presidents, and when I say president, Sepp Blatter was rather a unique person. He was a power junkie. Blatter tolerated the corrupt and dishonest FIFA committee men because he depended on their support to maintain his power of position. In this culture of corruption, FIFA decided in 1964 to remove the vote from Congress and give it to the EXCO members, meaning that to host the World Cup, nations just need to secure the votes of the 13 executive members. Indeed, it made the corruption an integral part of it. FIFA unethical ways was not a secret, but since they relocated their headquarters to Switzerland, their money could not track to establish criminality for at least a decade. But how? Because Switzerland banking or a financial industry has a really unique policy where they do not have to disclose their bank statements and accounts of their respective clients to any organization in the world. That's why billionaires uses their bank account from a Switzerland for the money laundering purposes. And when FIFA found this, you can understand why they moved their headquarters to Switzerland. The bid process for the 2006 World Cup was one of the most competitive in the FIFA history. It has been accepting proposals from nations outside of the Europe and South America earlier. The bidding nations spent millions of dollars on a 2-year gauntlet by offering the new stadiums, hotels, infrastructure, and a huge television packages. This became the aspect of bidding procedure that was well known to the general public. But this was a turning point from where all of the corruption made the public doubt every single day. Because at the conclusion of the 206 World Cup voting, executive members of the FIFA picked Germany. Thanks to the last-minute voter abstention, the outcome of the election was not affected. Later, journalists learned that the Germany paid at least 4 executive members of the FIFA, including the official who abstained, for their votes. It was the first publicly disclosure instance that indicated that the FIFA had a second layer to its bidding process, including under-the-table arrangements with the executive members. Due to the lack of criteria governing the location of the World Cup, the elderly men who served on its executive committee were wined, dined, and entertained for the extended length of time, and in some instances were compensated pretty well. And it occurred again when South Africa won the bid for 2010 World Cup. In the later allegation part, public get to know that the executive members of the FIFA were bribed, and this way of doing shadier business made the outrage in the eyes of the public. And in order to become fair again, FIFA decided that Europe will host the 2018 World Cup, and this time 4 bids emerged, and everyone thought this bid was going to be won by England with its extensive infrastructure in the football industry. Nevertheless, this was just a portion of what was required to earn a World Cup bid. The nations who won the award that day with the biggest financial resources to invest in all the levels of FIFA. And when we talk about money, Russia is frequently overlooked. As long as Vladimir Putin supported it, they would always be very competitive in this process, and if Putin wants it, he will get it. Russia promised to invest $10 billion and provide 16 stadiums just to host this World Cup. Also crucial was the fact that they staffed their bid with the wealthy, prominent, and well-connected individuals, introducing oligarchs, billionaires including Roman Abramovich, owner of the Chelsea Football Club, to provide the financial backing. Rafael Salaguaro subsequently said that he agreed to take $1 million from the Russia in exchange for the vote, while Jack Warner reportedly took $5 million in the bribe. In accordance with the FIFA strategy, Russia used the entire might of the government and enterprises and the connections to win every stage of the bidding process. However, they were not alone in the terms of having the most money. And when we talk about the money, the Arabs has the most money in the world because of their natural resources of oil and gas. And among the Arab nations, we have Qatar. and Qatar wanted to host the World Cup desperately. The administration of the Qatar government saw this as a crucial milestone in the nation building process. Therefore, they had the strong desire and the huge finances to host the World Cup in their nation. At the first look, Qatar offer seemed unlikely. It is a tiny nation whose football team has never even qualified for the World Cup. Also, it was too hot for football. Summertime temperatures might exceed 50 degrees Celsius. In 2010, Qatar has just one large city and one stadium suitable for the World Cup matches. Qatar's Emir Hamad bin Khalifa Al Thani held some of the greatest natural gas reserves and a significant amount of cash, which they were ready to deploy in order to win the bid for the 2022 World Cup. It vowed to spend a staggering $220 billion on infrastructure and construct 12 brand new air-conditioned stadiums and offer unmatched by any other nations. And they did not overlook the executive members of the FIFA committee. Later, British media would claim that the Qatar corporation paid Warner almost $2 million for his vote. There are also claims that the Qatar paid 3 other executive committee members of the FIFA. However, Russia and Qatar benefited extended because of their cash in hand. They were the only 2 supreme nations in the competition because of their money power, and thus they had more freedom to pursue the more dubious aspects of the offer, that they will host the World Cup for their nations. FIFA designed the bidding procedure that would be won by the nations with the greatest money and the least responsibility. Furthermore, Russia and Qatar got away with it, but subsequent revelation almost ruined the FIFA reputation. It was not until 2015 that the FBI arrested several FIFA officials in Zurich and launched an investigation process into the decades of the FIFA's dealings. Although no one has been prosecuted for taking the bribes from the Qatar since 2010 vote, 13 of the 22 executive committee members of the FIFA had been banned from the FIFA now, and even the president Sepp Blatter had put the resignation because of the corruption level that he had made in the FIFA. FIFA re-granted the Congress the ability to vote on the World Cup host in 2016. As a result, the 2018 World Cup in Russia proceeded as scheduled, producing record income for FIFA. But it is the Qatar as the nation who's getting criticized now for all the previous mess that FIFA created by its corrupt leaders. 2026 World Cup being hosted by the North American 3 nations, Canada, USA and Mexico. Things are looking good, but again, who knows, this might also be a deal under the table. And if you like this content, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and like this video so that more people get to know and understand the world of business, money and power. See you next